Hi, this is GoForLax, and you're watching Trad Method Monday.
What's up, guys? People here, and this is Trad Method Monday. This is the third video for the Shakedown, and we're just going to get right into it. So today's video is about specifically the structure, or what really makes this pocket the Shakedown, and that's the way that the cross lace is done for the pocket. Now, for this part of the video, I've already finished the pocket, more or less just the structure of it, and I'm going to be going over the very simple facts of what's going on here and do a slight demonstration, live demonstration of the video, and then there will be pictures at the end to really show you what I'm talking about, and keep it simple, keep it fast. Pretty much what you want to know, what you want to do for this pocket is that it's really about patience. This one, the tension is ridiculous to have to pay attention to. As you can see, I'm using the Pt.3 Pro. Hopefully that's the right way around in the video. But the Pt.3 Pro, if you do not have a Pt.3, that's okay. You're gonna want a ball and chopsticks or some sort of flat metal bar or wood or something that you can shove underneath your sidewall strings and be able to prop a lacrosse ball into the pocket against your two center leathers. Pretty much the width of the leathers should be about the width of your two center top string holes, and for this head I ended up doing through the two outer bottom string holes to really keep the leathers that same distance throughout the pocket, even with the Pt.3 in there. So it's the same concept as if you were going to use a ball. Big thing you want to pay attention to while you're doing the pocket before we really get into it, what you want to be able to do is figure out more or less where your center of your pocket's going to be. So if you want it to be more of a solid mid pocket, you kind of want to keep your Pt.3 or ball kind of focused in that area. But what you want to do is, in order to have a smooth transition of the ball from the pocket, is you want to have your Pt.3 or ball about, it's pretty much floating in the middle range of the head. So say that the head is this long, top of the head, bottom of the head, this is roughly the middle. Especially for a rebel, the middle is pretty much right here. Okay. For this one, I ended up having, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 struts going up this head. You pretty much want your Shakedowns to have between 7 and 9 struts going up and down it. If you have less than that, you're like, it's going to have a little too much hold and you're not going to have very smooth release. But what you want to really focus on is that you don't want it to end up like this because of tension. As you're doing these struts with twisting the strings together, which you'll see how I did it, when you're stringing it together, you want to make sure that the string number 1, which is the white one in the case of this video, and then string number 2, which is the green one. String number 1, or pretty much string number 1 start point side, so the left side, as I'm looking at it, because it's the back of the head, this side is the start side, this is the end side. So with the start side, whichever string ends up coming from the start side, you want it to be laying across the back of the leathers. Not twisting or anything like that yet. They just lay across the leather and attach at the point here, at your next sidewall attachment point. Your string is going to start in your top sidewall hole. Make sure it's a double overhand or whatever biggest knot you can do so it doesn't pop through. And then any string that's coming from the string 2 side is going to be the one that wraps around. So basically what's happening here is the white lays across the back and attaches, and that's where you get most of your tension. So you want that string to be relatively loose. You'll kind of see what I mean when you actually do it. But once you start wrapping around your side 2, you're going to do one wrap around for the first section, 2 for this section, 2 for the very middle section, and then 2 for this opposing section, and then 1 for the finishing side. This is pretty much going to create, as you do these knots, and I'll show you what I mean by the tension for the knots, or for the strings, the struts. There's a lot of words in stringing, gosh. But so for these struts, when you're doing this, you're wrapping them, the tension is going to be similar to that of another tutorial that I've done about towers, where it goes out and then it comes back, and how the string is supposed to be. It's not so much a coil, it's really just a really tight spin. So you don't want it to look like it's coiled up and really close together like a spring. You want it to look like 2 ropes wrapped together. Yeah, that's a pretty good description of it. But so once you do that tension, you need to pay attention to what's going on to the leathers, because you don't want the leathers to start going in, tightening in like that because of the tension. You want the tension to be just enough to where the string ends up looking like this, how it's coiled like this, or wrapped like this. You can mix match so many words in stringing. But so as you're progressing, I started my trad tree up a little bit higher. So it's in this sidewall section. I had it starting 1, 2 more up, and the trad tree was pointing out here. And so once I got to that point with the trad tree there, and I did the strut at where the trad tree was, I moved the trad tree down 1 sidewall section, and then did another 1 or 2 struts, and then I moved it down again, and I finished off the pocket. Now this, it may look like these bottom ones here may look really loose and everything, but once you get to the next section of this tutorial, which is going to be your running cross lace, more or less called running or retention cross lace, that's going to hold these struts in place. So don't try and get too far ahead or anything like that if you don't know really what you're doing. But so it's okay that these look loose once you get to the end, because once you take the trad tree out and have your retention string in there to hold the struts in place where they are, and then you start pounding the pocket out later, we'll get into this later, these struts are going to want to move and everything like that, but the leather is going to have to adjust to the fact that there's depth throughout the pocket. So think of it kind of like using hard mesh and breaking in the hard mesh, and it retains its shape from top to bottom. It retains that shape. It's kind of what you're going for with having the tension pre-done as you're going through the pocket. Now, once you do all that, you're going to get down to the bottom. I usually don't do one more strut going into the last sidewall hole here that's open right there. I usually don't do another strut down here, just because there's going to be a decent amount of string going into this center area anyway because of your retention cross lace that'll be going down the middle 2 leathers, because I'm going to be ending up removing these outer leathers. So in fact, you know what, we can do that right now and kind of show you what I mean. So as you can see, relatively tight with how the cross lace is wrapped around these 2 outer leathers. Undo the outer leathers. I'm going to need some pliers so I don't screw anything up. So remove the leather from whatever hole. I'm using a sidewall hole, but move it from the hole and start feeding your outer leathers through your struts, and almost immediately this will release all sorts of tension that was built up because of how you strung it throughout the pocket. Excuse me. But so, as you can see, the tension created is loosening, but that's good because that's what's going to allow you to have your pocket. So remove the leathers. You can do it now. I'm going to do it now because I know more or less what I'm doing after this point. But I would recommend for anybody trying Shakedown for the very first time to leave all four both of the outer leathers in until we're pretty much done with the pocket. So like leathers and everything are done, your retention strings are installed, and your shooters are on. So remove that leather. As you can see, there's all sorts of nice looseness going on here, but you can also see that there's more looseness going on in comparison from up here at the top where it needs to be relatively tight to where it's getting looser and looser as we move into pretty much where the ball's going to be sitting at for the most of the pocket's function. Same with mesh. You tighten down your top areas and then you build your pocket through the channel. The same thing is going on with what we're doing, progressively moving the ball or traddy tree down the pocket. Okay? Make sense? I think it makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, shoot me a message. We'll try and figure it out with you, so on and so forth. But that is the gist of what's going on with the cross lace to actually build your pocket. Again, if you do not have a traddy tree, use some sort of mechanism or bar, chopsticks, a butter knife. Just don't cut anything because you don't want to cut any of that. Remember, this involves 2 pieces of cross lace. I usually go for about 120 inches of string for each piece. As you can see, I have a decent amount of extra, so that just means that's a good thing because it's better to have more and not need it than to not have enough and need it. But with that said, if you end up making more struts, you have all that extra to play with. Like I said, between 7 and 9 struts is a safe bet to have relatively decent hold as well as good performance with this pocket. So, yeah. I think it's relatively easy, but it's all about tension from the get-go. You have to be very patient with this pocket. I learned the hard way. Anyways, so that's the gist of it. I did up some pictures so that you guys can see what I'm talking about. I'll do a quick thing with this cross lace so that you guys can see more or less what I'm talking about. So just to pretend, cross lace is going across the bottom here. We're gonna go from underneath over top. So it's going to be wrapped around, not the leather, but the string. Okay. And then it's going to wrap around and go up and around that leather. With the pictures, it'll probably be a little clearer. So it's kind of going to be like that. That's partly why I don't do it all the way at the bottom, because it really just coils it. It doesn't really wrap it properly. But so, continue that all the way across. And remember, you do 2 in the middle. So, this is kind of what I'm talking about here. As you pull the string through, instead of coiling it, you're wrapping it. It flattens out that string a little more instead of looking like that. See what I mean? So that's basically what you're going for. But you're trying not, like I said earlier, you're not trying to make it as tight as possible and push down on the leathers. The leathers are there really to just guide the ball out of the head when you're passing or shooting or whatever. So that's it for your main body cross lace. Pretty much step 3 out of really making this pocket. Hope you guys were able to follow what I was saying, and more or less, patience, patience, patience. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you on the next episode.